Hello and welcome to this edition of Daily Actives, brought to you by Bootleg Macro. I'm Dustin. Today we're going to be looking at Tesla. Tesla's recently been one of the most active stocks in the entire market, especially to kick off 2023. We can see looking at this weekly chart here that between 2021 and the end of 2022, essentially, there was a range of $200 to $400. Now, I'm not necessarily convinced that we're going to see a repeat of that, but I'm starting to think that maybe $200 is the old $400. Let's look at the daily chart that we have here. We can see that 200 has recently been support back in October of 2022. There's potentially resistance in November of 2022, potentially resistance in December of 2022, and as recently as it looks like February of 2023, and even at the end of March of 2023. What we could see now is potentially a range between $100 and $200 in Tesla. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. It's just something I'm speculating on because as I look at the market, it's starting to look very different. The kind of move that we had here in this daily sentiment indicator, which is measuring the percentage of bullish or bearishness in the price action, we can see in the middle of January where we really hit the low here at 34, we really got that rocket ship all the way up to 63% bullishness at the beginning of February. No coincidence that this coincides with the big move that we saw in Tesla from these lows up to these highs around 200. Now that we've hit the 200 level, because we didn't have as much distance, we didn't really get as much bullishness in the move because this 200 level looks like we were hitting it sometime at the end of March. It looks like in here was when we kind of like slowed down in our peak in our bullishness. We're at about 48, 49. I don't know, did we hit 50%? Recently we hit 50%, but it hasn't had the same conviction as the previous move. And that leads me to believe that there's just not a lot of demand around the 200 level. There's a demand up to the 200 level and potentially down at $100. But right now, it doesn't look like we're getting a lot of support there. And looking here at the weekly sentiment indicator as well, what we can see is generally we're getting a move that's a little bit higher. We're seeing bullishness at least break above this moving average. It's still below 50% in terms of the weekly bullish sentiment. You can see some positive things starting to happen. So I could see that we could get a fall and then a rally back up. And I think the stock would still look generally more bullish than it had before, even with that kind of move. Now, even looking at the volume, what we can see is that volume's essentially slowed down since the very beginning of 2023. In the past 3 weeks, we have seen a large pickup. We can say that we saw a low here of about 553 million shares traded at the beginning of April, but now we're seeing a little over 665 million or so traded in the previous week. That's a positive sign if you trust that there's going to be a big move coming. I don't know the direction. I'm just paying attention to volume. Especially when we look here at the daily volume, we can see that whatever day this was on 420 last week, it looks like the day that we had a big down move in Tesla, we saw the most shares traded since the middle of February of 2023. That's a good signal, at least for the idea that there's going to be some follow through on some of these moves. Let's look at the daily volatility here for Tesla. We can see volatility continues to break out. This is a zero bounded indicator, so it can't go below zero. So no matter what, it'll get low, but then it'll still make these nice, beautiful hills. Essentially, what we're expecting now is that we're going to see volatility continue to break out from here. It's all depending on what correlation does. Currently, correlation is positive, which means that if correlation is currently positive and volatility is rising, then the price should rise with it. Now, if correlation starts to dive and goes negative like it has done here before, and correlation and volatility continues to rise, that's not going to be positive for price, and things will happen much more quickly. But we'll notice that in the market. Now we're going to look at the weekly volatility here for Tesla. One of the things that is very obvious is that we've been in a significant downtrend of volatility since the beginning of 2023. But the difference is here that we have the correlation, which is actually rising. So that would actually indicate to us that the price should be falling currently, but that's not a surprise when you look at the overall weekly stock chart of Tesla. And you can see that here in the non-sentiment trade range on the weekly. We've essentially been since the beginning of November of 2021, we had essentially nothing but a wonderful downtrend for you to be able to short, especially within this range. And essentially the 400 level was important. We haven't hit it since 365, 300, looks like around 200. Even on the weekly, it looks like we could get all the way down to $95 and that'd be completely normal. We could go up to 248, sure, but we haven't hit the top of the range since the beginning of November of 2021, so I wouldn't really put my money on it yet. Now, when we look at the daily non-sentiment trade range, we can see that volatility, just like I showed earlier, is breaking out. So the expansion of these bands is obvious. You're starting to see the range go higher at the top. You're starting to see it go lower at the bottom. Looks like Tesla's essentially probing the bottom. It's done it before. We can see it did it here in March. One of the things that it'll generally do, because Tesla has some of the most raving fanatic fans in the street, it will generally touch both sides of its range relatively easily. I mean, we do see a long downtrend here from September all the way down to, it looks like January, where it did not touch the top until January of 2023. What we could expect at least is some serious volatility. Let's go ahead and look at the daily data just on Tesla really quick. I want to get an idea of what we're playing with in terms of how the day moved. What we can see is here at the very bottom, we've got $160. It looks like we are down significantly. We're down 1.16% today. Yesterday we were down 1.5%. That's not great. I mean, even on Wednesday of last week, we were at $180. Now we're at $160. So Tesla's really showing some very negative price action. I mean, when you see a lineup, when you see a row here, like your 1 day, 5 day, 15 day, 1 month, 3 month, and 6 month are all negative at the same time. And on my signals, you're getting go short signals. It's not great. Now, when you see that the colors here they are white background with blue lettering, that means that they're at the bottom of the range, which you saw when we just looked at that trade range. That's not necessarily a bad thing if you want to buy a potential dip. It isn't a great thing if you believe that trends continue. So I hope that you have at least a plan if you're in the stock. Are you long it? Are you short it? What do you think? I'd love to get. Would you be interested in learning how to build this exact same model right in front of you in the next 90 minutes? I teach you exactly how to do it. I'm going to show you the conditional formatting. I'm going to show you how to get the data for free. I'm going to show you how to set up your actual columns. And I'm going to show you how to use this to be able to look at any stock you want to with just a type of your fingers. And you don't have to pay for a dime of the data. All you have to do is put in a little bit of your own time to build a tool that you'll have for the rest of your trading career. At the Bootleg Macro Model Building course for all traders, you're never going to have to pay for another service again. You're going to finally be able to create your own analysis. You're going to be able to understand your own independent view of the market without having to rely on charts or indicators that everyone else is using. I'm going to teach you how to build something that is so personalized to your trading style. It'll fit you like a glove, and you'll see the market in a whole new way. Learn how to build your own model and take back control of your trading tools. Make yourself a better trader by investing in the tools you trade with.